All right, who is up, Terps fans? This is another Terps After Dark, almost breakfast edition. The Terps lose 105 to 72 to the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was basically just as ugly as the Gonzaga game. I had some hopes that, I don't know, they'd be a little more competitive in this one, but they were not. So I've got some thoughts. This is the first time, I try to be calm and take a few minutes. I'm doing this immediately after the game. It's been over since basically the first 4 minutes of regulation, of the first media timeout, essentially. So I've had some time to compartmentalize some of the things here, but I'm still kind of mad. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm a little frustrated, losing some patience, which is not great this early into the season for a team that's still, a while away from the heart of its season. So I'm gonna do my best to just kind of parse through the good and bad and keep it objective. So bear with me. It's 2:30 in the morning here if I stray into hyperbole at different points in time. So let's just go through some of the stats. The Terps struggle offensively again, shoot 37% from the field. They take 10 more shot attempts than Alabama, 76 to 66. So despite that many more attempts, they still get boat raced by 33 points. The Terps also shot 33% from three. To be honest with you, the way this team was constructed, the way last year's Texas A&M team played, I just thought if this team could shoot like low to mid 30s as a group for the season, they'd be like pretty good because the offensive rebounding was expected to be elite, and that is just truly not the case here. They did have more offensive rebounds than Alabama tonight, 13 to 11, but that's because Alabama didn't miss enough to need to offensive rebound anything. Crimson Tide shoot 58% for the game and 45% from three. They're 14 of 31. Our IMS publisher, my guy Jeff Irvin, tweeted out during the game, Maryland's defense is unusually beatable for a Buzz Williams team. Lots of penetration. They have to collapse to defend the drive, which leads to a lot of open threes. Yes, but the thing here is that is a feature and not a bug, and that was my response tweet. So I'm just gonna basically plagiarize my own stuff here. But this team is trying to get teams to like kick out and take panic rushed threes. They want to protect the middle at all costs. They want to help at all costs to make that happen. And they're willing to live with, as we talked about in our X's and O's deep dive, teams taking more threes than the average team would be okay with because they've typically had the length and athleticism to then challenge those shots and make them rushed or hurried threes at the very least. This team does not have that. They're at an athleticism disadvantage at every position except maybe center, and even that's probably a wash against these other, good high major programs. So it's just they're not going to scramble and be able to like pressure these guys enough. So a team like Alabama, that's an especially bad strategy because they're really good at shooting threes anyway, and that's all they want to do is paint touches and threes. They scored 48 points in the paint tonight. That's almost more problematic to me than three-pointers because it's just that's the one thing you're actually not willing to live with. Like Buzz Williams said after the Gonzaga game, they're okay. Well, not okay, but they were willing to live with Gonzaga shooting a bunch of threes because they knew they had to stop them inside. And a not particularly good three-point shooting Gonzaga team just lit them up. That's just going to happen sometimes. You're playing the percentages. Buzz is a big analytics guy. You're just going to get beat like that. This is not the case with Alabama. This is a sweet shooting team that wants to just heave up, not heave them, but they want to hoist them up as often as they can. And they did that. They shoot 31 threes in this game, and they're good at it. Maryland shoots 27 threes in this game, and they're not particularly good at it. The other thing here that really hurt them, Alabama gets to the free throw line 18 times, and that's essentially with not needing many free throws after a certain point in this game. It felt like they had a lot of them in the first, 10 of them in the first half, and then they didn't really need much. The rest of the way here, it was just kind of some petty fouls at the end, put people on the line late, but Maryland shoots 11 free throws. That's just not going to work. When you have no offense whatsoever, you have to find a way to get fouled. And these better, more athletic Alabama team was just nah, we're good. We'll just play you straight up and see if you can make shots. And Maryland just couldn't. When you see a player like LeBaron Phylan, who has 20 points on 7-11 shooting with 4 rebounds and 6 assists, he did have 5 turnovers, but that's going to happen with the pace they play at. He does that in 20 minutes of play. It was just like glaringly obvious how big of a talent disparity there was between our guards and him, especially. Aiden Holloway was really good in this game as well with 17 points. Like we're just not on that level. And those are 2 really good guards. They might be one of the better backcourt duos in the country, but that's what Maryland should be aspiring to have. And we just are nowhere near close to that. I remember a couple of years ago, the big Kevin Willard quote when Alabama beat us in the tournament with the Jameer Young team of just like, we have to get more athletic, we have to get more positional size, all those things to compete with SEC teams. And that's all I kept thinking about tonight was like, they just look bigger, faster, stronger, and more skilled across the board here. And that's, I don't know. I was able to come to terms in the preseason with hiring Buzz that like, okay, we may be at a skill disadvantage at several positions, but I didn't think we'd be at a physicality and toughness and even athleticism disadvantage as frequently as we seem to be. Solomon Washington would help those things. The situation with him is weird. For the 3rd game in a row, he dressed and fully warmed up and was throwing down dunks and warm-ups, but is still not ready to go and can't get cleared. This is officially the weirdest ankle injury I've ever seen. If he wasn't out on the court with these guys, I'd wonder if we were going to see him shut it down for the year and try to get another year of NIL money and come back next year with a clean slate. I could still happen, I guess, but they keep saying he's close, and that all signs point to him being close if they're doing all that stuff. So we'll have to see what that looks like. Yeah, so he won't solve it all, but I think he would definitely improve a few of those things, and I don't think he's going to get out-toughed. This is one of the first games where I thought Pharrel Payne was starting to look worn down a little bit, and I don't know if that's 3 games in 3 nights given the workload he has to take on, or if it's the injury. He just looked a little slower off the floor to me a couple times. There was one play where he should have gone up with it right away, held it, got bear hugged. Somehow they didn't call a foul, and he tried to like throw it up and didn't make the layup, and they ran down the court and scored. So I don't blame him, right? It was bound to happen. He scores 14 points and 5 of 13 shooting tonight. Still made 4 of his 5 free throws, which is great to see from him. Only 4 rebounds, though. Like, he's just got to be better there. He does move the ball pretty well. 4 assists, only 1 turnover. That was something Buzz Williams wanted to see him clean up, and I think by all accounts he did tonight. To me, he's just never the problem. Like, I'll basically just give him a free pass the rest of the way here, because even if he has a bad night, it won't be because of lack of effort or want to. So just the fact that he's upright, you get a pass from me, big guy. But it was weird. So Maryland is down 33 points with 5 minutes to go, and they decide to bring Pharrel Payne back in. He only played 26 minutes on the night, which is more than last night. I don't really understand that decision. If Colin Metcalf is not going to be able to give you anything productive and contribute toward you like winning basketball games, at least let him be that middle reliever that comes in when your team is getting shelled in a meaningless game, and just let him eat up some innings. I don't really get what was going on there. So we'll see. Let's talk about the shooting here a little bit more. Maryland, again, 37% from the field, 33% from 3. It feels like a team that shoots just to shoot, because like that is a thing that's expected of you on offense. It doesn't seem like any of them have a particular amount of confidence that when they shoot, they're shooting to make it. When the ball left everyone in Alabama's hands, they were ready to celebrate. They were holding the gooseneck up there, like ready to go. Maryland, it was like, okay, I've shot it, and now I'm already racing the rim to try to rebound my miss. And I get that is part of the philosophy, is put it up on the rim, but you just can't shoot that way either. Like, anyone who's played on a basketball court at any level has had that feeling of like, oh, the ball kind of slipped out of my hand, let me just rush in and get it. But like, you can never be settled if you're already expecting to miss and you have to chase down your own miss. It's just a weird philosophy thing, and I don't know if it's rubbing off on the players or this is a lack of confidence or what have you. I will say Darius Adams' shot is looking better. It's a lot less just like wrist flick only and no movement. It's gotten noticeably better with each of the last couple games, just in terms of the actual bend he gets. It's actually on a platter. He's holding the ball up and shelved and bending his knees, and there's some dip. I don't know if they were trying to tweak his shot or give him like this, have him shoot no dip threes or something, but whatever they've adjusted to here, it seems working. He's noticeably more comfortable. The ball's still kind of line drivey, but at least it looks like it has a chance to go in now. He made 5 of 7 3-point attempts tonight. Did not get to the line as much as he had in the past, but 7 of 17. Adams is one of the few guys to me that I thought just didn't look like he was ready to fold the minute this team got down at the first media timeout. He was still pushing, and even in the second half when they were getting run out of the gym, I thought he was still, especially early in that second half, in attack mode and trying to make some things happen. So I'll give him credit for that. I like the toughness from the freshman. I think he's really like a real piece you can build around. But it does go to that athleticism thing. Like he'll get better and stronger as he goes and fills out a bit more, but he's not going to be this crazy explosive guy. So you need to surround him with players that are. I actually think Andre Mills is a pretty good complement next to him. Mills did not have a great game, but he was fairly active. He had 6 points on 3 of 11 shooting. The 3-point shooting has totally dried up for him. He was 0 for 5 tonight. 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Played 31 minutes, so I think that's at least encouraging for him. No steals or blocks or anything like that. Adams did have a steal, which was nice. Coit was just bad tonight. Like I'll be just honest, he didn't do much of anything. He's 6 points, 3 of 5 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. Had 1 rebound, no assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal. He was a minus 35. I'm not a crazy big believer in plus minus in a 1-game sample size, but the next worst on the team was Elijah Saunders at 27, and I think the eye test bears that out. Coit only played 16 minutes and got run out of the gym basically in his minutes. Saunders plays 24 minutes, was a minus 27, so not a whole lot better. I thought they were more competitive with both guys off the floor, which is not something you want to see from your veteran guys, but I thought for both of them, the size and athleticism challenges for Maryland were even more emphasized. Saunders finishes with 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He did move the ball around a decent amount, only 1 turnover, but again, no steals, no blocks. I just don't know what to do with that. I do actually think he's playing hard. He's the last one down the floor on a fast break. He's slow to catch up to people. He seems limited physically, and I don't know if he's tired from playing minutes or I can't figure that one out because again, I do not think this is the guy I saw at least the last 10 games of the season for Virginia last year. Maybe that was the fool's gold and not the player I should be expecting, and maybe I need to recalibrate my expectations for him the rest of the way. But Alex Alston is not good at basketball right now, and I thought they were considerably more competitive with him on the floor. He's actually had one of the few Terps that I thought was better in Vegas than they had been previously. Alston finishes with 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting. He did settle for a couple too many tough jumpers for my liking and more fadeaways and things like that. But he was up there on the boards competing as the leading rebounder on the team with 7 rebounds. He also had an assist. He also had a steal. I just thought he competed at least for a guy who's still underwhelming from a physical strength perspective. He's got a way to go. There was one possession late where 155-pound LeBaron Fallon big boyed him under the basket. And it's like, okay, this dude has got to bulk up considerably between now and then. But there's at least some signs of life. At this point, when you're getting beat by 30-plus points multiple nights in a row here now, you just want to see guys that show like an obvious pulse, and I thought he did that. I don't want to make sweeping declarations about them as players or even people or whatever the case may be here, so I'm just going to phrase it like this. I have not enjoyed the minutes from Isaiah Watts and Colin Metcalf for much of the season. Watts has 4 points tonight, doesn't really do much else. Metcalf just played a few seconds basically and came right back out. And that was enough, essentially, for everybody involved. Let's talk Guillermo Del Pino for a minute. If you don't watch this game, you're going to look at the box score and say, oh, he had 10 points on 3 or 4 shooting and 2 of 2 from the three-point line. Like, maybe there's something there. No rebounds, no assists, had to pick up 2 quick fouls, 1 turnover. He did have 2 steals, but it's sort of like the ball got, like, tipped and ricocheted into him and he took off with it, so I don't know if they were even like real steals. He did have 1 swipe from somebody, but The one thing I think he can do to contribute to this team is like as a stationary jump shooter because the bar is so low for everyone else. I have confidence in him hitting some catch and shoot jump shots or wide open mid range pull ups or things like that. But overall, to me, I still feel like despite making some shots, he just looks years away from being years away from being a impactful power five point guard. I still think he's almost incapable of going left, which is going to be problematic for a guy who's not particularly explosive. To me, he looks like a guy that would go and be really good at Cal Baptist, 2 years from now. But him as a Maryland impact player, I just can't see that anytime in the near future here. And I wonder if that's gonna be okay with him. My expectation based on what I've seen is I would not bet money on him being back on this roster next year. That's just my own personal gut feeling based on literally nothing else, but just sort of what I'm seeing from things. And we'll see how it actually plays out. Maybe he develops enough over the course of the season. At a certain point, I would just start transitioning more minutes to guys like him and just see if it's sink or swim. Like, we know what Metcalf is. We know what Coit is. Those guys aren't going to win us games at this point. Even the same, I don't like saying this because I want them to do well, but Saunders and Watts and some of these other guys. Miles Rice was a goose egg for tonight, 0 for 4 from the field. No rebounds. He did have 3 assists, no turnovers, so that's something, but no steals, no blocks. He plays 12 minutes. He just really looks like a shell of himself. I guess he's still coming back from the injury, maybe, or it's just the rust at that point, but he looks uncompetitive right now for a guy. I had just incredible expectations for him being one of the 2 best players on this roster, and he looks far away from that right now. So Buzz likes analytics. I mentioned that up front. Like 3 is more than 2. I know he knows that. So you have to do so many things right to really offset that. And I just don't see this group being capable of doing that sort of like Buzz math that they want to do here to make those things work. They got out rebounded 49-30 tonight. You almost have to try to do that. And considering how many more shots they took than Alabama, they should have had way more opportunities to even get offensive rebounds. They did have 13 compared to Alabama's 11, as I already mentioned. But 49-30 on the boards is just brutal. And then the paint points, I already touched on that too. Maryland had 30, which is actually probably one of their better performances from that. I thought Adams was pretty good in that regard of trying to get all the way to the rim. But they give up 48 points in the paint, and that also will just not get it done. Alabama had 16 fast break points to Maryland's 5. So you don't run, you don't get to the free throw line, you're only getting 8 second chance points. You can't shoot from really anywhere on the court at an above average level. You have 12 points off turnovers, which is, fine. That was the one area I think is probably a bright spot for this Maryland team, is they only had 9 turnovers tonight. That's got to be the best they've had this season, maybe one of the early season performances against a low major team. They may have had less, but without looking, I can't say for sure, but I don't think they did. So ball security was better, I suppose. So we'll take that as like one win here. Maybe they had 6 of those 9 turnovers in the first half. So I don't know, maybe just Alabama wasn't pressing that hard or their subs weren't pressing that hard to try to force turnovers. Or maybe Maryland was better. It's just really hard to evaluate at a certain point in this game. I'm trying to look if there's any other things we can say are bright spots. 12 of Maryland's 28 baskets tonight were assisted. 29 assists for Alabama on 38 made field goals. So it's night and day. The creativity of the offense. Alabama is the poster child of modern offense in college basketball, and Maryland is not that. Let's just leave it at that, because I think everybody gets the point. I'm just not really sure where you go from here. I still just keep watching this team, and I think, how do you score points? So I wish I had something better for everybody here. I think I'm almost to the let's really focus on next year's team and identifying guys that can kind of change some of these things from a portal perspective. But I think the philosophy is going to have to be refreshed no matter how much time you have. it can't be guys that just come in and can only bang on the boards and things like that. Like there has to be an attempt to really have like a break you down guard that makes life easier for stationary shooters and like rugged dudes. I keep using the word rugged for this team because that's the expectation with Buzz's group, is guys that will finish under the rim. This team would be absolutely abysmal without Pharrel Payne, and they're pretty close to abysmal against this top level competition right now. I do think some things will settle in. Rice will get healthier. Washington will come back at some point. Adams and Mills and guys like that, and Alston will keep improving. They'll prioritize the guys that are going to at least compete hard. The freshmen are going to make a ton of mistakes. They're not physically ready to compete in the Big Ten, but at least the effort and the gumption will be there throughout. And at this point, that's something to build on for future seasons here. And hopefully you can just kind of expedite their learning curve so that you don't have a really young team again next year. Like if you could basically say, Adams and Mills are like juniors in terms of experience and speed up some of that process, I think that at least would be encouraging. And I think you'll win a few games here along the way. I got to see Rutgers in person in Vegas this week. They are very bad. Like that's a game Maryland can definitely win. Like they're beatable teams. And I think the middle of the road teams, Maryland is still actually close enough too that they can come out better than it may feel like after results like this. But the top end of this league, Maryland is going to struggle to be competitive with. It's just how it felt right now. Like everything Alabama did from kind of like picking Maryland apart, Purdue is going to be able to do that. Illinois is going to be able to do that. Hell, even Indiana may be able to do that. So there's just, I don't know. I'm a little doom and gloom. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to be a bummer here, but this was not a particularly fun 48 hours, and I'm going on very little sleep here coming back from Vegas. I liked the event. I know there's a lot of chatter online about, it's ruined college basketball, et cetera, but if people want to complain about private equity money in sports and bad basketball games, well, private equity had nothing to do with the fact that Maryland got run out of the gym 2 nights in a row. So you want better games, you need to have teams that play at a higher level, and Maryland, by all accounts, has a multi-year deal to be in this field. But if you just, don't show some signs of life between now and next year, like maybe you get kicked out of it. So we'll see. Just looking at Michigan. Shout out to Michigan for defending our honor as our fellow Big Ten brethren. Gave Mark Few and Gonzaga a taste of their own medicine, beat them by 40 tonight. That's the other team I should have mentioned. Michigan will absolutely fucking obliterate this Maryland team on the boards. It's just going to be a horror show. Like, this is not a physically imposing front court for Alabama. There's some good athletic dudes, but they're not Gonzaga, or they're not Michigan. They're not Florida, like one of those kind of teams known for their front court. So I just don't know what you do. If Pharrel Payne gets in foul trouble against Adaimara, Merez Johnson, and Yaxel Lundborg, it is going to be one of the all-time beatdowns in Big Ten history. Even Michigan State, like they're so intense on the glass. Like there are definitely some tough matchups ahead for this Terps team. But like I said, hey, we just focus on the positives. Adams 20 points tonight. I'll take that. It's something to build on. Mills at least is scrappy and competitive and wasn't quitting. Alston, good on you. You're showing market improvement here from a guy who there was a lot of talk you might redshirt. 8 and 7 from him tonight. So those are the good. We talked about enough about the bad. And it's just, all right, long season. We'll regroup here, everybody. We'll regroup on the podcast. There's 5-3 Terps team. They're still above 500, so that's something. On Tuesday night, they play Wagner at home. Unfortunately, I cannot make that one because of work trip, which may be good for me to take a break from being in the building to watch this Terps team. Maybe I'm bad luck. We'll see. But Wagner should be an opportunity to be a get-right game and figure some things out and restore some confidence. And then they play Iowa on Saturday, December 6th at Iowa. So that'll be, the first test here in the Big Ten before they get ready to play Michigan on December 13th. So Terps got their work cut out for them, but that's all right. I don't know. Till next time, everybody. Fear nobody. I don't know. Fear the lack of rebounding. How about that one?